Okay, guys, let's talk about what prototypes are. I know we have kind of mentioned them in the past, but we didn't really look at them, but now we will. Okay, in simplest term, in JavaScript, a prototype is just an object. But it is a special object that allows its children objects to inherit or borrow its properties and methods. So if you look at my silly example on the bottom, you see I have one object, child, and one object, parent. Now this is the child because its prototype is the parent object. All right, so it's the direct child of the parent. The parent's prototype is the grandparent object. Now, prototyping and inheritance only goes one way. All right, the child can borrow methods from its prototypes, parents and grandparents, and so on. But grandparent cannot borrow methods from parent or child. The parent object can borrow from grandparent because it's going up the chain, but it cannot borrow the children's methods because that's going down the chain. Okay guys, we're going to take a look at JavaScript's prototype chain. And no, this is not everything in the chain, it's just a small part of it. I do not want it to make it so confusing. All right, so just so you know, everything you see on the screen here are built-in JavaScript objects. Okay? If you see a circle like this, it means it's a function, but functions are also objects, right? So all of these are built in. That means when your file starts, these already exist in JavaScript's memory, right? Now, if we go all the way to the top, we have no. That means the object basis prototype is no. So everything ends here. If you notice, everything points back to the object base or the object prototype. Okay. Now, on the object base itself, which is just an object, it has a dot constructor method. It has a dot has own property method, right? And since these live on the object base, every type in JavaScript, you can do a dot constructor or a dot has own property. And yes, you can do that on arrays, on functions, on strings, on numbers, and yes, even on Booleans, because they all inherit from this object base. If we go down the prototype chain, we get array base. And this is where all of our special array methods live, right? Like .map, .filter, .every, and so on. Now, if you look at these right below the base names, this is how you access these objects, right? So let's say if you want to access array base, first we type in capital A array to select the array constructor function. Then we can do .prototype to get its prototype object, which is array base. Okay? And we will talk about constructor functions right after this. Okay? Same with the object function. If you take the object function and you do .prototype, it will lead to the object base. Okay? Same with number. Okay? Now, once again, I want to remind you guys that these are just a very small part of the prototype chain. There's a lot more going on, such as we're also missing string base, Boolean base, and so on. Okay, let's take a look at some code examples.